We have voluntary exchange theory, which is given by Swedish economist Erik Lindahl. The aim of this model is to find the optimal level of public goods and services to produce while fairly sharing the cost among everyone. Meaning to say, we know that most of the government collects funds from various sources to provide public goods, right? But the supreme source of revenue is what? Taxation. So under voluntary exchange model, the tax levels are determined automatically because taxpayers pay proportionately for the government benefits that they receive. Okay, so how much should the tax be imposed on the citizens, how much tax should be collected, and how much public goods should be provided is being decided in this model. Okay. So what are public goods? Public goods are nothing but the products and services that are provided to all by the government and funded by citizens' taxes. Okay, you have public goods like metro, you have healthcare facilities, everything for the welfare of the society. Now there are three problems that Lindahl has noticed which he tries to satisfy. First is the extent of state activity, meaning how much public goods and services should be provided. Okay. Second problem is allocation of total expenditure among various goods and services, meaning how many goods should be provided. And third is allocation of tax burden, which is nothing but how much or how the burden should be distributed. Okay, a citizen shouldn't be overburdened with tax. So the equilibrium can only be achieved when the supply and demand is equal, right? So over here in this theory, the supply of public goods should be equal to the demand of public goods, which is nothing but the cost. Supply is nothing but how much is the government providing in terms of public goods, and demand is nothing but how much is the public using those goods. Okay, so supply, we can term it as cost. Okay, cost of producing those public goods, and demand is nothing but the revenue or the tax collection by the public. So if the government has the revenue or the tax collection, then only government can produce that good. If the government is in lack of funds, government cannot produce those goods, right? So the cost should be equal to the revenue of producing public goods. So equilibrium is only achieved when the cost of public goods is equal to the tax paid by the public. Okay. Now we need to understand what the diagram shows. Okay. Now we have this Edgeworth box which shows on the x-axis we have quantity of public goods, and on y-axis we have two person. Okay, person A and person B, which is representing the society. Okay, so we have two persons, person A and person B. Now on y-axis on the left hand side we have from 0 to 100%. Okay, so how much the person A is contributing is termed in terms of percentage. Okay, and over here we have 0 to 100%. So please make a note, it's 0 to 100%. Okay, so this is demand curve of A, and this is demand curve of B. Okay, so x-axis quantity of public goods both side, and this is A's contribution, and this we have B's contribution. And contribution is nothing but the tax that A and B pays to the government to use those goods. Okay, now let's take the first case. We have OF. Okay, now suppose government is deciding to provide OF public goods, OF amount of or quantity of public goods, and the tax which is or the revenue that is needed to provide this much goods is EF. Okay, so this much is the total tax collection that is needed to produce this much quantity, OF quantity. At this, let's say this is case 1. Okay, so how much is A contributing? Let's see, this is DA. So A is contributing, we will have to start from below. A is contributing Fj. Okay. Now let's assume that Fj is maybe 0, 5, 50, 70. Let's say this is 70%. Okay. So A is contributing Jf, which is 70%. How much is B contributing? B is contributing this Ek. Okay. Again, we'll say this is 70% coming from B side because 0, 50, 70, 100. Okay. So B is contributing Ek, which is 70%. So can you see that A is also contributing JF and B is also contributing AK. Again, both are 70%. So this space is overlapping JK. Okay, JK, both the person are paying. So it means that government is receiving excess tax. Okay, it's not being fairly distributed. Government is receiving excess tax. JK is being excess tax. Okay, so government tries to increase the quantity of public goods to OD. Okay, now we'll arrive at case 2 where government is providing quantity of public goods which is OD. At OD level, government needs CD amount of tax collection or revenue is needed. This much revenue is needed, okay, to produce this much goods. Now at this level, at OD quantity of public goods, we can see that both the tax burden is being equally distributed, okay, which means that person A is paying DO or OD. Let's say this is 50%, okay. So A is paying OD and B is paying OC from here 0 to 50%, okay, 50%. So both are paying 50%, which means that it is being equally distributed, right? The tax burden is equal. So this is the optimal level, okay. So Lindahl tries to say that at OD level or OD quantity of public goods should be produced and the tax burden should be 50-50%. It's equally distributed and this much is the tax collection which is being fairly distributed among the society of 2%. Okay, so this is the optimal level of quantity of public goods that needs to be provided. Now let's take a third case where government decides to provide huge amount of public goods, okay, that is OH. Now at OH level, government needs a revenue of GH, okay. GH amount of tax is needed to be collected from the society of 2%, okay. Now over here, the demand curve of A, how much is A paying? A is paying MH, okay, at DA, MH. So let's take A is only paying 30%, okay. And how much is B paying? B is paying GL, okay. Let's assume this is 30%. So can you see both are paying less tax, but the quantity of goods that is being provided by the government is huge, but they are paying less tax. So this is not possible, right? Government, if government is providing a huge amount of public goods, it needs this much tax and people are only paying less tax, okay. This much is lack, no one is paying LM, okay. So because there is lack of funds, government goes back to this level where government is only able to produce OD because of lack of funds. Lack of funds is LM. So due to lack of funds, government goes back to the optimal level of producing OD amount of goods and because the tax is also collected and it's equally distributed among two people. So this is all Lindahl's equilibrium.